Next up, we have another panel discussion with the topic, how DeFi integrates Web3 to our everyday lives. Our upcoming panel examines the practical role that DeFi, or decentralized finance, can play in the everyday lives of Filipinos. And with that, let us now call on our facilitator, Patrick Zulueta of Save Finance. Joining him will be Charlie Wang of XY Finance, Anton Buenavista of Pendle Finance, and Ian Estrada of XLD Finance.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully, you're having an insightful yet fun Web3 festival. All right. So, as you can see, I have a slew of handsome gentlemen here today. So, take your pick later, ladies. Kidding aside. All right. Let's get started. Maybe we can start off with maybe a round of introductions. Maybe let's do like a elevator pitch type style. So, my question for you would be, who's your target market? And what are your challenges in achieving the goal of integrating Web3 into our everyday lives? So, who'd like to start?
Left to right?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. So, hello guys. Charlie from XY Finance here. We are a cross-chain bridge and a aggregator. So, back to Patrick's questions. The target customer we're looking at will be, first of all, for user whoever want to do the cross-chain swap and transfer their assets from chain A to chain B. That would be our first priority. Let's say if a customer has some assets on Ethereum, but he want to transfer it to, let's say, BNB chain, that would be our first priority for us to complete the task for them. So we're aggregating 260 DEXs at the moment, and it's pretty fast and pretty efficiency. If you have time, we'd love you to have a try. Yeah, that's probably the first thing we're looking at.
All right. Thanks for that, Charlie. So, I think Anton is gearing up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anton. I'm from Pendle. So Pendle is a fully on-chain yield trading protocol where people can tokenize any yield-bearing asset to strip away its yield, and you can basically trade it as a separate market. So I guess the primary use case or the main market for this kind of like protocol are other protocols as well. So we look into integrations, anything that's basically crypto native. In terms of like retail or end users, we look into like users who are looking to buy assets at a steep discount by using Pendle. So yeah, that's I guess the gist of it. Yeah.
All right,
Hey guys, I'm Ian from XLD Finance. I'm building a platform that builds infrastructure that connects protocols and crypto companies to the global financial system. One of what sets us apart from guys like MoonPay, Transact, and Wire is that we actually focus on like hyper-local payment methods. So a lot of the on-ramps and off-ramps are actually covering like credit cards, but we're actually going even deeper by working with mobile wallets. Eventually, we'll have ways to connect with banks and even up to cash pickup. Right, and I feel like it's very, what we're trying to do is, I'm really a believer of decentralized technology, that it can actually provide more efficient financial services to the mass market. And for people to be able to get on that, there needs to be a very easy and very local way for them to go into and participate in their favorite protocol or crypto company.
All right. Thanks for that, gents. So yeah, actually, since I'm at it here, I'm actually also representing two outfits today. So Zave, basically we're bridging Web3 through DeFi, and we're giving utility for stablecoins, as well as helping fintechs 10x their consumer savings, as well as their cross-border finance. All right. So Charlie, actually, straight out of the bat, we know you're from Taiwan. What do you think is the difference between Taiwan's space right now in terms of regulations? How are things going there versus other countries within the region? Any thoughts?
Well, I think it's booming really fast, and I think people are starting to accept the concept of not just CeFi but also DeFi. Like a decade ago, probably they've heard of this Web3 concept, but I would say for the last 2 to 3 years, people not only heard of Binance, FTX, lots of central exchanges. They are also taking the concept of moving their assets and holding their access in their own ownerships, which is, I mean, the main concept of decentralized. So I would say, yeah, for the past 2 to 3 years, the public's opinions towards Web3, especially in Taiwan, has made a lot of big step forward.
Great, glad to hear that. So actually, as everyone would know, the Philippines considers itself to be the hub in Southeast Asia for Web3. And does everyone echo that sentiment here, guys? All right, fantastic. Okay, so Anton, for someone who hasn't had any experience in hedging futures, maybe especially token futures, for example, how would you explain the relevance of this importance to a regular, everyday investor or person?
Right. So I think the product, right, Pendle, the way it came to be is that during 2020, during DeFi summer, there was a lot of yield opportunities. So everyone is kind of like doing yield farming, liquidity farming, you know. But there wasn't really any avenues where you can hedge risk against those farms. So everyone's kind of like leveraging against all this, you know, tokens out there. But really, you're kind of like also leveraging your risk against those tokens, right? Because you really don't know whether it has a concrete use case or whether it would be there, you know, like the next month or so. So the idea of like Pendle is that any yield-bearing asset, like whether it be LP tokens from Convex, like vaults, or from AMMs, anything that basically accrues yield, you can split them, like tokenize them into its yield portion and its principal, and then you can immediately sell the yield portion to get your yields upfront. And that basically reduces your risk such that you can, you know, you've already gotten your yield upfront, right? And you can just basically hold the principal until its maturity, and then you get back the underlying token in the end. Yeah, so yeah, basically for any sophisticated trader out there who kind of like knows this, they'll be able to have like avenues to be able to hedge their risk or be able to take advantage of like, you know, buying assets at a discount. Yeah.
Great, thanks for that, Anton. And I think that's a very timely topic now, considering what's been happening in the industry. So definitely hedging, managing your risk, and I guess not putting all of your eggs in one basket. I think it's very critical now. So Ian, nice to see you again. So actually, Ian and I, we're part of the founding team of another fintech in our past lives, but nice to see that we're both in this space.
Nice to see you too, Pat.
Yeah. So yeah, most DeFis aim to transition TradFi into Web3. And for example, we're trying to adopt DeFi for fintechs, etc. How does your company approach this, and what are the limitations that you've seen so far?
That's a very good question. Might say something a bit controversial, but seeing and working with both sides of the aisle, it's kind of hard for either side to cross over. And that's why we have a business. Because, for example, DeFi folks, everything is on-chain, right? It's self-custodial. They don't understand that why regulators kind of have to have a say in terms of where the money moves, right? And the regulators on the other side, right? If they want to try, TradFi, they're worried so much about regulation, right? If they want to try to regulate DeFi, it's so hard because new projects are kind of minting new tokens. The liquidity is everywhere. I'm sure you know that. And if you're gonna try to regulate one DeFi protocol, you have to regulate, you know, pretty much the entire thing because you're gonna have to track the money flow. So I think it's very difficult in terms of. I think there's both a commercial or regulatory kind of angle to this. Like people who are used to or crypto natives don't really understand kind of some of the like fundamental rules. Like for example, like capital adequacy ratios, your Basel III risk management stuff, you know, that which could have helped, you know, the kind of manage or lessen the impact of what's been happening in the industry lately. So I think it's like, and on the other side, and on the engineering side as well, like I feel like a lot of Web3 like builders will not have the patience to actually integrate with like integrating with the small like a top 10. You will have like 10 different integrations, and you're gonna have to manage that across like 50 markets. It's very complex. That's how I would say. So it's very hard to kind of cross over if you're on one side or the other.
Thanks for sharing that insight. Actually, and that's the reason why, for example, the tech company I also represent, Apper, we're trying to help Web2 companies also integrate new Web3 DeFi systems into the companies. And engineering, I think, is also one of the challenges here. As you know, there's a talent vacuum, not just in the Philippines, but in Southeast Asia. So that's something that we're trying to bridge as well. All right, so let's go into something juicy, guys. So let's wake up, everyone. It's probably a little bit after lunch. I'm not sure if you guys have had your coffee. So let's go into something juicy. All right. So noting the recent news about such Web3 players, FTX, DFX, and the like, what message can you share to those who are new to the space to tell them more about why DeFi is more secure, more accessible, etc.? Any thoughts, guys? Feel free to share, anyone.
I guess I can start. So I guess since May of this year, right, we've seen over 90% down, right, across the board, right? Like most tokens, most majors have lost a lot of value, right? And we've seen big blowups, like I guess FTX. I'm not sure we were supposed to talk about it, but yeah. But in this space, right, especially in DeFi, the reason why we're here is all about censorship resistance and having to use money like self-custody, right? So the idea is that despite the blowout, protocols like Uniswap, people can still trade, people can still borrow or lend in Aave, people can still use like protocols like us, Pendle, or XLD, Save, XY, or so. So things that blew up are mostly from centralized parties, right? But protocols in DeFi still continue to work on, right? So I think that's kind of like the power of having things in like mid machines, that's what we call it, instead of like middlemen, where we have arbiters of trust, right, placed instead into smart contracts that regulate, like take away this like central layers of trust, and just have like the community come into consensus of like how protocols should work. So the idea is that the best example comes from Vitalik, right? It's like a vending machine, right? We know how the mechanism works. We don't need to trust who's behind of like who's working the vending machine, but we just know that it works, and whatever we put in, we get a specific output out of it. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Anton. Gents, anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess, I mean, the only thing I'd say about like FTX is it's not decentralized, and no further comments from that. But all I will say is that, as a user and as a builder, there are always risks on whichever side you take. It's just different types of attack vectors and different ways to kind of prepare yourself for that. So I really do think that everyone from the builders and core contributors and people who are working on projects, as well as like users and traders, they should really, I hope this, my hope is really that people kind of give a bit more value or weight towards risk management. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to kind of just echo what Ian just mentioned. Both CeFi and DeFi has their advantages and both risks as well. So when you're putting your assets, let's say on CeFi, you're actually trusting that exchanges, that it will hold your assets safe and sound. But when you're doing transaction on DeFi, it doesn't mean that you're getting safer. You still have to learn everything about crypto. You still have to learn what's hot wallet, what's a cold wallet. What does it mean about it, the address? Does that mean if you go to DeFi, you're going to be safe for once? That's just not true. So that's why when we started XY Finance, we want to make sure that for every partner we integrate, we want to have we have a 24/7 engineering team on chain just to help us to monitoring all the transactions that's happening. So whenever we see an abnormal transaction, for example, a significant amount happening in a very short period of time, our engineering team will monitor and seize the transaction if needed. So I think all the measures and all the steps that we're trying to take is just to trying to minimize the risk of both DeFi and CeFi.
All right, so key takeaways, I think, from all of the panelists that we've asked today, definitely managing your risk, and it's not the case of DeFi being low risk or less risk, etc. There's definitely risk behind it, and it's more regulated, accessible, and inclusive. Anyone?
Yeah, so on our side, I think we actually launched a retail product earlier this year. If you were on crypto Twitter and you're playing Axie, Like, I think one of the first tweets was like, "Thank you, XLD. I finally was able to buy brand new underwear." So they used their SLP to go to like a Shopee and buy underwear. It was like a meme. But then we were like over the next few months, we were saying that people were asking, can we deploy this into our own platform as well? Can we do that? So on our side, we realized that I think that instead of going into retail, especially when volumes are what it is and people are kind of staying light, we see the opportunity that we just enable kind of help other projects and provide utility to the token in the community by helping them with on-ramps and payments and things like that, right? So because for crypto and any token to be treated like it was cash in your wallet, you need it to be easily used, right? It's not like I have to do something, use an off-ramp platform or put it in the credit card. Like it should be like as easy as scanning a QR code and then boom, you get your coffee. So that's really our vision for the future, and we want to help the Web3 community, crypto companies, kind of get to that level, right? To be really integrated into the user's life, over the next few years.
Thanks, Ian. Closing thoughts, Anton?
Yeah, I guess I can add to that as well. So for us, our perspective is that we would always offer services that's always in line with what the space wants. So for example, like recently with the boom of NFTs, there's also been a lot of finance in NFTs, like the fractionalization of NFTs or lending and borrowing of NFTs. So that's an area that we can work with as well, like in terms of integration with DeFi, right? Now, looking to the future, there's going to be things like upcoming technologies like account abstraction or fractal scaling, or even a lot of cross-chain or interchain communication between these different protocols. So I think that most protocols will be able to service this. Most protocols are actually cross-chain right now. And most of these other protocols will be working on, let's say in the future, you've heard things like soul-bound tokens, right? So I think you'll hear a lot of these DeFi protocols working with those aspects of technology as well. So the future is very bright in this space, especially. Yeah.
Thanks, Anton. Charlie, closing thoughts?
Okay, I think there will be three directions that we're trying to tackle. The first is the interoperability. The second one is efficiency. The last but not least is the security standard that I just mentioned. For interoperability, we are aggregating, like I just mentioned, about 270 DEXs. The things we're trying to tackle is always, the first is the price, the second is the efficiency. We're trying to swap the user's token fast and simple, and also definitely safe. So that brings us to the second, which is efficiency. We have a probably industry average in the fastest routing time around 2 seconds compared to 6 to 8 industry average. So it's pretty confident to say that, and also not just getting the users routes fast, but also get them the cheapest price. And the last part is the one I just mentioned, security. I think this will probably still be the most important thing, maybe not only now, maybe 10 years from now. It will still be the main concept and main core that we'll be discussing. So like I mentioned, we have a third party auditing our smart contract every quarter when we integrate new partner, and we have a 24/7 engineering team monitoring our transaction. Just all of these measures trying to minimize the risk whenever something unnecessary happen. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, gents, and hope everyone learned a thing or two. Enjoy the rest of the festival, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick Zulueta, Charlie Wang, Anton Buenavista, and Ian Estrada for that informative discussion. And now we'd like to invite those whose legs might be aching at the back. There are seats available, so we invite you to take them. Following such a great conversation about how Filipinos benefit from DeFi, we turn our attention to NFTs. To learn how we can harness the full potential of NFTs, rather than right-click and saving, we invite Peter Ng, founder of Blockchain Space and convener of the Philippine Web3 Festival, to the stage.
Good afternoon. How is everyone? Is everyone still awake? I actually see some people sleeping in the front row. Before we get started, actually, I just want to check, how is the technical competency like out there? Can you put your hands up if you would consider yourself very technical? Okay, I only see very few hands. So we're going to try and keep it quite light and make sure that the things that we talk about are relatable to everyone. a quick introduction to myself. So I'm Peter Ng, founder of Blockchain Space. I'm actually one of the co-organizers of Philippine Web3 Festival together with YGG. So I'm really glad to see so many of you out there. It's amazing to be able to host a conference where you see 2,000 people come and they're coming to learn about the stuff that you're so passionate about, right? And I've had the pleasure to kind of watch the community grow. I actually tweeted this morning that the last time I saw Jiho in the Philippines was in 2019, and we had a meetup in our co-working space with only about 40 people. And then today we were able to put him in front of 2,000 people. And that's how far we've come. The ecosystem's grown so much, and everyone's really looking at the Philippines right now. Let me welcome up on stage my panel. I don't want to hog the stage, but these guys I'm particularly proud of because these are all Philippines homegrown startups, right? The same as us. We started in the Philippines. These guys started in the Philippines. We all got invested in recently, right? And this is why you should be so excited about the ecosystem right now. This is what we're here to basically share with everyone in the crowd. So without further ado, I'll introduce Renz from Breeder DAO. And Dan from Playdex. And I know Carlos from Unlock Finance is here somewhere, but is he? No. He'll join us at some stage. Your microphone's working? Awesome. So I think it was good that we did that little poll to see how technical the crowd is, right? Because we don't want to go super technical and then lose everyone, right? We all work in the GameFi space, right? So we love games. We love the whole concept of play to earn. But recently we saw this whole boom bust, right? In 2021, huge acceleration when the crypto markets went up. But then also GameFi took a bigger hit than the actual total crypto market cap, in the last year, right? But we're still here building. So I want to go around and I want to ask you, why are you so bullish about GameFi? Why are you building infrastructure right now for GameFi?
Right, okay, maybe I'll start. So, hi everyone, I'm Renz, CEO of Breeder DAO. And my journey really started off with just trading tokens, right? And for the longest time, I've been trying to imagine a utility for blockchain and cryptocurrency. And during that time, it was purely a monetary incentive, right? I want to get 100x, 1000x. But when DeFi came, and particularly NFTs came, I then began to realize that there's actually something more to blockchain than what it seems, right? And my first experience was actually with Axie Infinity. During that time, I'm the type of gamer who actually wants to buy everything, who wants to collect all the characters. But after some time, we all know how that works, right? You then move on to the next big thing. You then move on to the next big game, and you're unable to transfer or move or bring your NFTs along with you, right? Or your characters along with you. And so when I heard about being able to own your assets, I was like, you know what? This is something that I'm definitely going to invest in, and this is something that definitely I would want to be involved in. And so right now, we're still here, and I'm still very bullish because I really see the beauty of being able to own your assets, not in the sense of being able to profit from it, but just owning it and having that bragging rights or being proud that you're the owner of it, and that whatever it is that you want to do with it, you can do with it, right? So yeah.
Awesome. Let me throw that at Dan. Dan, why are you so bullish?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Dan from Playdex. Playdex is a gaming platform for NFT gaming. And just a little bit of background about myself. I've been a gamer for the past 15 years now. And the way I see Web3 is that it doesn't really change anything fundamentally of how things used to work. It only amplifies it. And a lot of the things that we've seen in Axie Infinity and all these different games have already existed before, but now is validated using the blockchain technology. And now, things can be regulated or standardized because data is open and ownership is available for everyone. And the reason why I'm bullish is because now we're seeing a lot of game developers, indie game developers who
usually wouldn't have the stage to launch their game. And now they can go direct to customer, they can go direct to the community and launch their games. And I see that we're going to be growing this space by providing more of the product underneath, which is the gameplay. And that's what I'm really excited about.
Awesome. Carlos, thank you for joining us. Carlos, another member of the Philippine ecosystem, Unlock Finance. Why are you so bullish about building infrastructure in the GameFi space?
Well, so I've been doing e-commerce for the last 10 years, right? And what I can tell you is everybody that has been to Web2 for long enough understands the possibilities of Web3, right? And a lot of people are even jealous, right? They're like, wait, this is something different. This changes the economics. This changes the interaction, right? One of the reasons why I'm so bullish about this is because after having lived for so long in the Philippines, I'm originally from Spain, and I'm pretty involved in the whole European blockchain ecosystem. A lot of things that are super obvious to you guys and to many of you are not that easy anywhere else in the world, right? So I was here 2020, 21, just like, I had a small guild, I had some scholars, I started doing basically what we all did, right? Playing a few games. I'm not a gamer myself, so I just tried to go and learn from a lot of these people, right? Gabi, Peter, Goltra. And what I realized is that there's something really unique about the way Southeast Asians, even some South Americans, use gaming and use blockchain gaming. And that for many of them, the difference between Web3 blockchain games is indistinguishable. They do not care about how this is happening. They're just completely native, right? So many of them have been onboarded into the crypto world through games, but without even knowing or without really caring that much, right? So it's a very organic behavior, right? We started building because we realized that we couldn't always constantly raise tokens and raise more money to buy new games, to get more scholars, right? So we started thinking, how can we compound this? And a lot of DeFi people were really bullish about the DeFi blockchain aspect, but didn't necessarily connect with NFTs and NFT gaming, right? So at the intersection of NFTs, blockchain gaming, and a lot of the changes that have been happening, there's that whole layer of financial products infrastructure that all of you guys are building that takes them to the next level, right? I believe that all assets will be represented in the form of an NFT in the future. So that entire layer of infrastructure that you guys are building is basically the next big thing. Today, every SaaS company that you talk, no matter how big or how small, they're valued at 50, 60, maybe different today, but they're building apps that we all know, that we all use, but somehow people don't know that much about what you guys are building. And I believe that's about to change in a big way, right? So it's the most exciting space. It's also a space where Philippines and Southeast Asia are very, very unique and really understand what needs to happen to grow.
Yeah. Actually, I want to bring this back to the Philippines, actually, because again, the whole reason we're doing this conference is we're showcasing Filipino talent, Filipino startups. Yeah, I think we deserve a round of applause for this, actually. Yeah, it's pretty much the first time we've ever had this opportunity to actually show, especially the kind of talent that we have in this country, right? Actually, I want to kind of throw it to you guys, being a Philippines-originated founder, has that had advantages or disadvantages, in particular in the GameFi space? Have you been able to understand the market better? Renz?
I think it was quite obvious for us that because we're situated in the Philippines and because everyone's been saying that Philippines is the epicenter of blockchain gaming, right? And we're at the center of it. So it's quite obvious that there's a lot of advantages to it, right? Just being in the center of it allows you to see how the landscape is shaping up and the potential that you can build around it, right? So when Axie Infinity first launched and it first gained its popularity in Nueva Ecija, right? We all thought that it was just going to be there in a secluded niche place where nobody would actually know about it. But then it cascaded and grew even in Manila, right? And so, the first guild was actually formed here because then they thought okay, given that there's a lot of people who are playing it, but not enough capital is being poured into it, right? Then there may be a way for us to infuse capital and then allow people to actually play it. And then on our end, right, okay, now that we know that there's a lot of guilds popping left and right, and there's a lot of like money funds that are flowing in, then we then look at the supply side, which is assets, right? So we then would need to find a way to mass produce these assets so that we can reach more people and it can become more affordable for a lot of like people. And so hence BreederDAO, right? But then we also realized, for example, that there's a need to build more infrastructure around it because not everyone would have access to scholars, for example, and hence like a rental marketplace like Playdex, for example. And then you have Unlock Finance, of course, unlocking more liquidity for everyone else. So for sure, it has like a lot of advantages. And being situated here, a lot of people seem to think that because you're here and you're part of like Southeast Asia and much less like a country not known to American VCs, that you would have access to less funding, or you would have less funding, right? But because you're actually, or crypto allows you, or blockchain allows you to go global immediately, and your audience is not just going to be Philippines, but you're here in the Philippines as like a starting point, right? And a good starting point at that, because you're able to test and like experiment without like having like high burn or cost, right? So that allows you to automatically have access to the biggest funding, but at the same time keep your burn low, for example.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to throw this to the other two, but you're going to have to keep it short because I've just been told we've only got 5 minutes left. So Dan.
I think we're very lucky to be following the footsteps of like blockchain space, YGG. It's definitely been very easy for us, easier for us than the ones that came before us. And I think the reason is, they saw the potential of what this could be. We saw the demand from the market, and now we are seeing that Filipinos can actually build, and we're not just here to be the the testing center for games, for apps, and we can actually build here, and we know our customers more than other people, and I think that's a huge opportunity for us.
Yeah. Carlos, quick one.
I think I'm more authorized to say this because I'm not from here, right? So what I can tell is that everybody wants to be here. I get on a daily basis so many requests, people from Europe, from Spain, from South America that want to come here and to meet with you guys. I've actually learned so much from you. And I think there's one amazing thing about Filipinos. Everyone's so warm and so approachable. So it's not just that you have immediate validation from the market, it's that you have direct access to these people, right? So it's very, very hard to get those ingredients, access to market, speed, and people that are really willing to share and contribute that have been at it for years, right?
Guys, before we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to do an elevator pitch, all right? You got to do it within 20 seconds. Okay, so Renz, how are you unlocking the power of NFTs with what you do at BreederDAO?
Okay, so what we essentially want to do is to enrich like every single's lives and experiences via blockchain-powered assets. So essentially, we want to be the bridge not only of like different game IPs and titles as you enter the metaverse, but we also want to bridge creators and users and back to like games in general.
Go, Dan.
So we want to give the spotlight to a lot of the indie game developers that are building in this space. So with Playdex, you'll be able to find these developers, find the games that they're building, decide which ones you want to play, and we're going to help you take the first step without any cost and educate you through our product to be able to invest wisely in these games.
We want to make it easy for everyone to borrow against their NFTs in an immediate, permissionless, instant manner. You deposit your NFTs into a smart contract, and you can borrow in any token you want within 5 seconds.
Perfectly on time. Nice one, guys. If you guys have time, you guys are all going to be around after the talk. Come and find these guys. This is the Philippines ecosystem. You got to talk to these guys. That's what we're here for. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter, Renz, Dan, and Carlos.